For those of you keeping track, this is my third train-related movie in a row. I didn't plan it, but I'm also not mad about it. I just rewatched the Darjeeling Limited, and I want to talk about it. The Darjeeling Limited starts with a short film called Hotel Chevalier, where Jack is in a hotel room in France. He gets an unexpected visit from his ex-girlfriend. It's a prologue, really. It's not necessary to watch to understand the movie, The Darjeeling Limited, but it does provide some insight into Jack's motivations, his relationship issues, and in what he's writing in his short story. The feature film follows three brothers as they struggle to reconnect on a train journey across India. This spiritual quest comes after their father passed away and their mother sort of disappeared. She's somewhere in India, and Francis, the older brother, has a secret plan to meet up with her. This whole trip is Francis' idea. This family is dysfunctional, and this journey for inner peace devolves into petty arguments, taking sides against one another, and misadventures. But eventually, through interactions with the cultural elements, the people themselves, they eventually move toward forgiveness and a shared purpose, or at least a better understanding of one another. A lot of that personal growth happens during an accident where our three main characters jump in to save three kids who had an accident on a river. One of them doesn't make it, and the ensuing moments after that represent incredible growth for our three leads. Owen Wilson is Francis, the eldest brother. He's obsessive, overbearing, and protective. He's been in a bad accident, so he's reflecting on his life. He's just lost his father, and now he fears he's losing his brothers. He seems to have his guard down and be open to fixing issues, but oblivious to the fact that his personality is grating on his brothers. He's a man who's acting completely out of fear, the fear of losing control. Adrian Brody is Peter, who is filled with melancholy and stubbornness. You can tell he's had it with Francis's antics, and he's almost picked this trip as the time to stand up to him. But he's also dealing with the fact that he's about to become a father, and during the accident scene, he starts to sit into the weight of his new life and the fragility of it all. Jason Schwartzman is Jack. He's reeling from a breakup, and he just seems to be dazed and drifting since his father's death. He's a writer, or at least aspiring to be a writer, and he uses his writing to confess what's happening, but also to hide from it. He's the brother that's always between Francis and Peter. They try to rope him into their side all the time. He's mostly sweet about it, but you can tell it takes a toll on him. Angelica Houston plays the mother of the brothers, and oh mother, what a mother she played. She's elusive, not just with her location, but also with her emotions. Francis clearly developed a lot of his idiosyncrasies by being the oldest and spending the most time with her. She's very domineering and a great character who's ultimately wise, but clearly detached from her life as she once knew it. This is a Wes Anderson film, of course, and to me, I think it's the apex of his work. It's not overly Wes Anderson stylized like some of the more recent movies became. There's a natural element to it, too, that I think is missing in even a great work like The Grand Budapest Hotel. I think being in India and moving around in that natural state from location to location helps with that. And there's also so much heart and true relational insight in this film. And I can admit that maybe I love this most because it came out when I was 20. That's a really formative time. But I think the likes of Asteroid City or The Phoenician Scheme have been a real departure of earlier works of Anderson's. It's the emotional growth in the Royal Tenenbaums that really speaks to me. It's not just throwing in the whip pans and the slow-mo and the exorbitant color palettes and the harping on symmetry that makes a movie great. This movie has all those elements, but they're measured and intentional. The slow-mo scene with the brothers in their funeral dress on the way to pay respects to the child who died is poignant. It highlights this transition that they themselves are about to make as people, so we stay with it longer and really take that in. The slow-mo ending of the brothers leaving their luggage and hopping on the train is growth and closure and realignment all captured in one scene, so we live with it a little longer and it sinks in. The symmetry here is lovely to look at too, but it's not forced. Having three brothers just naturally balances frames. The structure of the train and moving through it provides realistic and reasonable opportunities to focus on symmetry. In later films, the symmetry is manipulated by characters, and it seems like it's just a thing to be called out and noticed. Here, it's part of the film. It serves as just one of the elements, not such a major focus. Let's talk about color palettes. This is an insanely gorgeous color palette, and it seems like one that Anderson didn't try for or really try to curate, even though we know he probably did. But India, being so foreign to so many people, allows that color palette to feel unique and to breathe naturally. Then there's the flashback to the dad's funeral, which is more muted and more realistic for that setting. It's masterfully done in this movie. The music, as always, is killer, and you know Wes brought it for this film. It's one of the few soundtracks that I own. I can put that record on, close my eyes, and visualize the film. I don't think there's anyone who does it quite as well as a complete package. Outside of the popular music we know on the soundtrack, the Indian-inspired tracks are recognizable and unique compared to a lot of other American films we might watch. There are a lot of great shots to choose from in this film, and it was hard for me to narrow down, but I think the frame that sums up the Darjeeling Limited is this one, with the brothers walking back to the village with the two boys who survived and carrying the one who didn't after the river accident. It's symbolic of their own ego death in a way. Francis begins to let up on the control. Peter is able to really start coming to terms with being a father, and Jack becomes more motivated and present. A brush with death can really bring things into focus for you. This child's tragic death marks the death of their old selves as well. The brothers wanted a spiritual experience. They tried temples and holy places. They tried to work it out themselves with rituals. They tried reconnecting with their mother. None of that worked. They, however, found it by sacrificing their own safety to protect these children that they didn't know, by mourning with the community, and by being accepted by them in the end. Unexpected human connection is magical and spiritual. The themes are numerous as well, but the effects of unresolved trauma is certainly one that's explored. The death of their father obviously took a huge toll and was an enormous blow to these brothers. Jack leaves the States for a year. Peter can't even talk to his wife about their child that's on the way. Francis is clinging on to any childhood authority he might have had as a big brother. Plus, these guys are getting loaded on Indian medicine most of the trip. And if you don't address an issue, you will avoid things or deflect or try to come up with your own way to cope. As we mentioned, the spiritual journey of it all, the film states quite clearly that you cannot plan for this type of growth. It happens when you don't expect it. It happens when you're uncomfortable. Seek and you may find, but live and experience things honestly, and you surely will. There's this element of peace and surrender as well that's explored. The look on the brothers' faces as they leave the luggage behind on the platform clearly tells that. This thread starts once they're kicked off the train. No track to follow, no itinerary to live by. They have to forge their own path, and it happens to be one of letting go. The father's luggage and his belongings are the most important piece of symbolism in this film. They clearly represent the emotional baggage that the brothers carry, and they're a real hindrance when they need to move from place to place. When they leave the bags behind, though, it's their choice. They're not saddened by the fact that they have to let go. They've come to a place where they simply no longer need the bags. They have one another. The train, we have to talk about it. Even though they're on a train and thinking they're heading toward enlightenment, it's actually representative of them being stuck on the same track. They've always been on this track together. The healing doesn't start until they leave it. Jack's writing reflects his emotional detachment. The stories are clearly about his life, but he uses them to distance himself from those moments or to romanticize his trauma. In the end, though, it's kind of learned that experiences don't have to be these perfect stories to be considered real or meaningful. Hit up the comments with your favorite themes or symbolism that I maybe didn't discuss here. There's a ton in this movie. We've talked a bit about the river accident, so for this particular pivotal moment, I want to talk about what stood out to me on this watch, and it's the flashback when they're riding to the funeral in India. They flash back to their father's funeral in New York. The difference in culture and deference is impeccably shown. In New York, the funeral is a mad dash. It's a crunch for time. The funeral home has another funeral just behind their father's, and we've got to get to it. Whereas in India, the whole town takes the time to mourn. It's slow, it's deliberate, and respectful. In New York, they're dashing to get to and claim their father's belongings on the day of the funeral. In India, they're quiet and concerned for the individual and the family. The demeanor changes between these two funeral scenes just show how much tremendous growth that they experienced on the journey so far, and the rest of the film works to drive that message home. I think using India as a backdrop and putting expectations on the people or the culture to come through with some sort of spiritual awakening can be seen as problematic. I, however, think that's part of the brothers' folly and their growth. They learn, and so do we, that that's an unrealistic expectation. They were misguided, and that happens, but I think the film clearly says that growth comes from self-reflection, communication, and experiences. They happened to do that in India, but it wasn't because they were Westerners in India that they got to that point. Some people might not vibe with the tone of this film. There's quirky and funny situations paired with serious and somber ones, but isn't that kind of life? I think life isn't one thing, and I like movies that can incorporate that feeling in a way that works. Some people can't get that tone right, but I think Anderson does here, and it really works for me. Up to and through the release of this movie, I thought Wes Anderson could do no wrong. This was Wes at new heights to me when this first came out, but I think it eventually became his peak. I have to give it 5 spools based on that, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me. But for the people it touches, I think it has a lasting impact on them. It's lovely to look at, it's quotable, it's relatable, it's crafted with care, but not without its imperfections. The imperfections matter too, and I think that's something that Anderson has lost sight of. That wraps it up for the Darjeeling Limited. Thank you all so much for being here. If you'd like to check out the Patreon, it's $3 for everything. Early access, shout outs, help me pick movies, ad-free content if we get to that point. Hopefully we do, but I appreciate you just joining and hanging out for this one. If you want to do it again on YouTube, just like, subscribe, and stay in the loop. We'll see you in the next one.